Hello everyone, Mike Rempel from Another Set of Eyes with today's Excel Bytes blog post. Today we're going to take a look at pivot tables, some basics, setting one up just quickly, a couple design options, and maybe some things that you might want to consider in analyzing your data. So here we have a regular table, and if we look at the contextual tab, you can see I've called it prod sales. And I want to create a pivot table to help analyze this data of different products, their divisions, if they were sold at a full amount or discounted amount, and then the amount that they were sold at. These are all each individual transactions here. So what I'll do is click anywhere in my table, go to the Insert tab, and select Pivot Table. A Create Pivot Table dialog box will appear, and the first thing it'll do is it'll assume the range. Because it's a table that's named, it'll just insert the table name there, prod sale, so it knows that I've selected the right table. And it's also going to assume that it's going to put it on a new worksheet. I can put it on this existing one, but we're going to put it on the new worksheet nonetheless. So I'm going to say OK, and now it's created a new tab and put the outline of the initial outline of the pivot table here, and popped up my field list that has all the headings and the different fields that I can drag those headings into to create my pivot table. So what we'll do is I'm going to take products and I'm going to put those into the rows, and as I do each item, you can see my pivot table starts to take shape. So it took all the different products and created a different row in each one. I'm going to take the divisions and put them in the columns. So I've created a grid here with products and divisions, anticipating the data that I'm going to insert into that. And that will be the amount, which are the values. So I'm going to put that in the values field. And lastly, I'll put my type up into the filter section of my pivot table field list. And now you can see we have a basic pivot table here. Each of the products, each of the regions, and then the sales within those products. So let's clean it up a little bit and maybe take a look at how we can do that. First thing I want to do is format the numbers. Now, the best way to do that with a pivot table, right-click on any one of the numbers and go down to Value Field Settings. And here we can do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to change the name to total sales, and in the summarized values by, you can see it assumes automatically sum because Excel has realized these are all values and you figure you may want to sum them up. And I'm going to leave it at that, but you can see we can do different things with those. You can average them, max, min, etc., standard deviation. We're going to leave it at sum, and then from here we're going to do our formatting. And I'm sure this looks familiar to you. This is the formatting dialog box that pops up. We're going to choose accounting, and we're going to go with 2 decimal places, but I'm not going to put a symbol on there just so it doesn't clutter it up a bit. I'll say OK and OK again, and now it lays it out with a nice formatting for my numbers. And here we can basically do our analysis. Now, a couple things we also might want to do is if we look at the Design tab, you see that there is a report layout. Now, in this simple of a pivot table, you're not going to see too many changes, but in the report layout, you can see that you can have a compact form, an outline form, or a tabular form. There's not a whole lot of differences between the two in something this simple, but if I go to outline form, it condensed it a little bit there and made it a little bit neater. And if I go to tabular form, you can see it added the grid lines to it. And that's how I usually like to see my pivot tables, in a tabular form. Now, the other thing you might want to consider doing, we have the sum of the totals here, but we also might want to consider also knowing the count of the transactions. So what we can do here, if you want to add another analysis layer to your pivot table, all you need to do is take the amount that you used for your values and drag it again into that value section. And now you see it's added another column. Basically, I'm matching the first because it's going to assume summing again, but we can change that. So I'm going to click the down arrow here and go to value field settings again. And now I can change this to quantity, tab out of that, and I'm going to go to count. So it'll count the number of transactions I have. And again, I'm going to change the number formatting to just number and go with 0 decimal places. I'll say OK and OK again. And now you can see that for each product, I have 2 columns, a total sales and a count of those sales. Looks like I didn't quite change it like I wanted to, so I'm going to go back to my field list, go on count of sales, valued field settings, and I'm going to type in quantity again, tab out of that, say OK. Now it changed that to quantity. Not sure exactly what I did wrong the first time, but maybe we'll take a look into that. So now you can see for each product in each division I have total sales and quantity. Now this looks a little strung out horizontally, so maybe I want to move the quantity so it's below the total sales. Well, in my field list, it's added this values in the columns area. What all I need to do is take the values and drag it down into the rows. Watch what happens. And now for each product, I have just 1 column for each division and 2 rows, 1 for total sales, 1 for quantity. So now you have a nice, neatly looking pivot table that you can easily analyze, looking at your dollar amounts and looking at your quantities. So there you have it. There's just a few tricks and a way to set up pivot tables, maybe some options. We'll do more things about pivot tables in future podcasts, but I hope you like this one. Thanks for stopping by. And if you'd like to see more, please feel free to go to my website, excel-bytes.com, and I hope you subscribe. Happy excelling.